Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be taking a look at a new VTX from Foxeer. This is the Clear VTX and it's come in this sealed static bag here, and there's a little thing on the front actually that says scratch me, so I'm afraid I can't resist, so I'm gonna have to do that. What happens if I do that? I think this is just to show that like it's a genuine product. You know, we have got a lot of copies of stuff here. What does this give you? Sort of like a serial number, does it? And then you have to go online and, you know, compare it or whatever. Yeah, it says query on the website there. But anyways, let's get this thing open and take a closer look at it. So this is a new VTX for 2018 that does not support smart audio. But wait, don't switch off, because they are advertising this VTX as having very accurate individual channel selection. So quite often you will plug your copter in and then dial your goggles into the correct channel and you'll get a picture. But if you go to the channel before or the channel after, you may also be getting a picture, and that makes it difficult to run a lot of copters at the same time for a race. What they are saying with this VTX is that if you take 8 of them, you can run them on every single channel of that band and the picture won't interfere with the other one, which is impressive. However, it does mean that you have to convince 8 of your friends that you're racing with to buy into this VTX, and that might be a hard sell considering it doesn't have smart audio. I guess the idea is that if you're in a small group of people, you'll stick to the same channel, but I really think they should have added smart audio to this one. So it is a switching VTX from 0 milliwatt to 25 milliwatt to 200 milliwatt and 600 milliwatt, just a single button. It's a 48 channel, however, it comes with the international version set, so it has quite a lot of the bands locked. It's very easy to unlock. It's just a 5-second press of this button and then that unlocks the other bands there. So it runs on a 2 to 6S battery apparently. However, I'm going to be running a 4S today. It weighs 8 grams with this wiring harness here. It's actually using a MMCX connector, so you can either connect that to an SMA connector or you can connect it directly to these Foxeer Lollipop antennas, and that will just stick straight in there. And you know, I find these MMCX connectors, they're strong enough to cope with the flex, like in a crash for example. They're advertising it as having really good filtering, so it's a problem that we have with a lot of VTXs, especially high power ones, is that when you throttle up you get lines over the picture from the back EMF of ESCs. It's saying that it's got stuff in there to reject that. We've also got the pin out here for the interface, so yeah, we've got the positive, the ground, it does audio and video, and then another ground, and there's also a 5-volt out on it. It is not detailing what the Beck is rated to, but I'm sure it'll be fine for powering up a camera. That's usually what they are designed for. So the wiring harness, you can see it actually goes to a camera run cam style pin on this side, and we have the 6-pin on that side, and then we've got the audio, the positive and negative there. So yeah, it's designed to go straight into a camera from there. So I've been really reluctant to do this, but it's really the only model I've got that can be like a straight switch. So this is my original FuryBeat Futon. It's got a 600 milliwatt VTX, but you can see there that it's using these 1mm pitch JSTs. Now I think this is a 5-pin and I think this is a 6-pin, but I can remove some of these pins here and it should be an easy switch, and also that sort of lines up there as well, so at least I'm going to be able to test it. And this one had a little tiny bit of noise on it, if I recall, not too much, so it'd be interesting to see if we have some more noise rejection with this VTX attached to it. So it was very easy to fit this to the futon. So I've got my cable tie around there, and I can still see my LEDs, the antenna coming up the top. I just had to move the video pin one down because the third one in on this one is audio. So if you want to power up in pit mode, you just hold the button down and then plug in. It's kind of tricky to do, so I'll just plug in without that. So my LEDs are very bright there. But you can see this little LED board here, it does exactly the same as what this one does, except, you know, we don't have the thicker board, so, you know, it's going to be a little bit lighter. It is a 3-second press on here to go into the band, and then another 3-second press. There we go, I hadn't done it quite right, so 3-second again to go into the channels, and then another 3-second press, and that is the power. So one is 25 milliwatt, 2 will be 200, and then 3 will be 600, but I'm just going to keep it on 25 milliwatt. So let's take a look at some DVR footage, and straight away I'm seeing noise on the picture, and I think it's more noise than was on the original, so I'll overlay some footage of the original VTX. So when they talk about this advanced filtering, I actually don't think it's doing anything else than all of the other VTXs out there. In fact, you know, this one's producing more noise than the one on the original futon that's a little bit old now. So yeah, there you go. By the way, if you ever wondered what the speed of the original futon is with its props, 74 miles per hour. Actually, this isn't a fair test because it's a really windy day and it's gusting, so every single speed test came with a different result. I did speed test this model on a really calm day and it did 77 miles per hour, which by today's standards you would say was slow. One thing I thought was interesting though is it was absolutely screaming on full throttle. And I think that's more down to the prop selection than anything else. You know, motors have changed a little bit. They've got a little bit more fancy in their design, but really the only thing that has changed is they've gone up a little bit in stator size. And I think it's actually the props that have gotten more thrust from the motor. So probably switching the props out on this model would make a big difference in terms of speed. Anyways, this isn't about speed. I just put the speed test meter out there for a little bit of fun. So let's talk about the channel selection thing, because when they talked about it being more accurate regarding channel selection, I assumed that meant across all bands. However, when I checked on the Fat Shark band, the video was still bleeding into the channel before it and after it, just like any other VTX out there. And it was only really on Race Band that didn't happen. And Race Band is designed specifically for that, because, you know, VTXs do bleed onto other channels. The frequencies are spaced much further apart than your other bands. So again, I can't really say that this VTX is doing anything different than the other VTXs out there. Now they say that, you know, you don't have to run left hand or right hand polarization, you just put them next to each other. But again, I think that is the case with Race Band, and I think only left hand and right hand alternate polarization is used just so that you get the best out of your video. So yeah, it's a shame, but I don't think this VTX is doing anything different than the other VTXs out there. It does have the MMC X connector, which I like, and you can directly connect your antenna to it, which I like. You can't really do that with UFL. And, you know, it's cheaper than the likes of the Unify, but, you know, the Unify goes up to 800 milliwatt. And it's got the smart audio. This doesn't have the smart audio, so I think it's going to be a difficult sell, which is a shame because I've used Foxeer VTXs on my older builds and, you know, they've performed really well. And I do think you will get good results out of this. Just make sure you've got a nice clean build with capacitors on there, and I'm sure you'll be able to reduce the noise, because I've been able to with the previous Foxeer VTXs. But with this one, I think it just has an MMCX connector and it supports a wide voltage range, but other than that it's not doing anything special. So I'll link it in the below, and as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.